Be honest, when things don't work as well in the bedroom, what's the first thing you think of? Pills, quick fixes, a prescription. That's what most men over 50 are told. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Stronger erections don't just come from a bottle. They come from blood flow, from the health of your pelvic floor, from how flexible your body still is. And the best part, you don't need to be an athlete. Just a few minutes a day, right on your living room floor, can change the way you feel in bed and the way you carry yourself outside of it. Today, I'm going to share 5 doctor-approved stretches every man over 50 should know to boost circulation, strengthen control, and bring back the confidence you thought you'd lost. My name is Dr. Jen Gunter, a board-certified urologist. For over 20 years, I've helped thousands of men navigate prostate health, erectile dysfunction, and aging with confidence. And what I've seen again and again is this: the men who stay flexible, who keep blood flowing to their pelvis, who don't let stiffness creep into their daily life. Those are the men who maintain strong, reliable erections well into their 70s and even 80s. That's why today's video is so important. I'm going to walk you through 5 simple stretches you can do anywhere, no gym, no equipment, that support circulation, strengthen your pelvic floor, and help restore the confidence you thought age had taken away. So if you're ready to take back control without relying on quick fixes or endless prescriptions, stick with me. And before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the science-backed strategies I share every week on men's health after 50. After 50, most men begin to notice changes they never expected. Blood doesn't circulate quite as well. The pelvic floor muscles lose some of their strength, and testosterone gradually declines. Put those 3 together: weaker vessels, weaker muscles, lower hormones, and it's no surprise that erections become less reliable. Too many men panic and reach only for medication. But here's what most don't realize: without a healthy foundation, strong circulation, responsive nerves, and flexible pelvic tissue, pills are just a temporary patch. They may help for the moment, but they don't rebuild what your body is quietly losing. Think of it this way: ignoring your pelvic flexibility is like ignoring the oil in your car. Eventually, no matter how shiny the paint or how new the tires, the engine stops working the way it should. And when that happens in your body, it doesn't just affect your erections, it affects your confidence, your energy, and the way you show up in every part of life. Let's begin with the very first stretch, one that may look simple at first glance but has transformed the lives of countless men I've treated. It's called the pelvic tilt or bridge pose. I want to tell you about Michael, a 62-year-old patient of mine. When he first came to see me, he was embarrassed. He leaned forward in my office chair, lowered his voice, and said, "Doc, I feel like I've lost my strength in the bedroom. It's not just about the erections, it's the whole sense of power and stamina. I feel weaker, and it's starting to affect how I see myself." Michael had already tried medication. It gave him a quick fix, but it never lasted. He wanted something deeper, something that rebuilt his body instead of masking the problem. I introduced him to the bridge pose. At first, he laughed. "This looks like something my granddaughter does in gymnastics," he said, but he agreed to try. For 2 months, he practiced every morning, lying flat on his back, knees bent, feet on the floor, pressing his hips upward until his body formed a gentle slope from shoulders to knees. Within a few weeks, he noticed his lower back felt stronger, his posture improved, and in time, he came back to me with a smile. "Doc," he said, "my erections are firmer, my control is better, and I feel like myself again." So why does something so simple work? Here's the science. The pelvic tilt activates your pelvic floor muscles, the very foundation that controls blood flow in and out of the penis. Think of these muscles as the support beams for your erections. When they're weak, blood leaks out too quickly. When they're strong, they trap blood where it needs to be, giving you a firmer, longer-lasting erection. At the same time, the bridge position improves circulation in the lower body. By elevating your hips, you encourage fresh, oxygen-rich blood to flow into the pelvic region. That's the lifeblood of sexual performance. Strong muscles plus steady circulation equals better function, not just in the bedroom, but in your overall health. Now let's make this practical. You don't need a gym membership, special equipment, or even much time. Here's your mini action. Lie flat on your back with your knees bent and feet shoulder-width apart. Press your heels into the floor, engage your core, and lift your hips toward the ceiling. Hold the position for about 5 seconds, then slowly lower down. Repeat 10 to 15 times. That's it, just a few minutes each day. Start slow, listen to your body, and build up gradually. If your lower back feels tight, place a small pillow under your shoulders for support. And always breathe steadily. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you lower. Remember, This is not about chasing instant results. It's about training your body to respond again, to strengthen the very muscles and blood vessels that support your erections. Think of it as an investment. Every rep is like depositing into your health account. Michael learned that consistency was the key, and you can too. 2 months from now, you could be standing taller, moving with more energy, and walking into your bedroom with renewed confidence. So, the first secret is clear. Never underestimate the power of a simple stretch. The pelvic tilt might look basic, but it's often the missing foundation. Without it, your erections stand on shaky ground. With it, you build strength, circulation, and confidence from the ground up. Stretch 2, the seated butterfly, opening the hips, unlocking blood flow. The second stretch may surprise you with how powerful it is, even though it looks so simple. It's called the seated butterfly, and it's all about unlocking your hips to restore circulation where you need it most. Let me share the story of John, a 58-year-old IT consultant. He had spent decades sitting at a desk, hunched over a computer for 8-10 hours a day. When he came to see me, his main complaint was stiffness. "Doc," he said, "my lower back hurts, my hips are tight, and when it comes to intimacy, I feel like my body just won't cooperate. It's like the blood isn't even moving down there." I asked him to show me how flexible his hips were. When he tried to sit on the exam table and bring his knees outward, they barely moved. His hips were locked up like rusty hinges. That's when I introduced him to the seated butterfly. At first, he thought it was too easy to matter, but he agreed to practice every evening just before bed. Within 3 weeks, the changes were obvious: less hip pain, better posture, and to his surprise, stronger, more responsive erections. He realized it wasn't just about the blood vessels in his penis. It was about the whole system of circulation leading into the pelvis. Here's the science. The hip flexors and inner thigh muscles act like gateways for circulation. When they are tight, which is extremely common for men who sit a lot, they compress the arteries that carry blood into the pelvic region. This reduces flow not only to your legs, but also to your sexual organs. Over time, that restriction makes erections weaker and harder to maintain. By opening the hips with the butterfly stretch, you literally open the highway for blood flow. More oxygen, more nutrients, more life reaches your pelvic tissues. And remember, erections are essentially a hydraulic system. Without steady blood flow, nothing works the way it should. So how do you do it? Here's your mini action. Sit on the floor with your back straight. Bring the soles of your feet together, letting your knees fall outward toward the ground. Hold your feet with your hands, sit tall, and gently press your knees toward the floor. Don't force it. The stretch should feel gentle, not painful. Hold for 2 minutes, breathing deeply. With each exhale, allow your knees to relax a little closer to the ground. If sitting on the floor feels uncomfortable, you can sit on a folded blanket or yoga block to give your hips some height. That small adjustment makes the stretch more accessible, especially if you haven't done much flexibility work in years. The key is consistency. John admitted that the first week felt awkward, even boring. But by week 2, he looked forward to it because his body felt looser and his confidence returned. And after 2 months, he told me with a grin, "Doc, my wife noticed the difference before I even said anything." So don't underestimate this stretch. The seated butterfly is more than a hip opener. It's a circulation unlocker, a posture improver, and for many men, a game changer in the bedroom. Stretch 3, the cat-cow, restoring spinal flexibility, reviving nerve signals. The third stretch is one most people overlook, but it plays a crucial role in sexual health. It's called the cat-cow, a gentle movement borrowed from yoga that restores flexibility to the spine and helps keep nerve signals sharp. Let me tell you about Paul, a 66-year-old retired teacher. He came to me frustrated. After prostate surgery a few years back, he noticed his back had stiffened and his erections had grown weaker. "Doc," he said, "I just feel disconnected. My body feels old, and my mind keeps telling me I'm done." He had already tried medications, supplements, and even pelvic floor training. What he was missing was flexibility, the ability of his spine and nervous system to communicate effectively with his pelvis. That's where the cat-cow stretch came in. At first, Paul thought it was too simple. "Bending my back is going to fix my erections," he joked, but he gave it a try every night before bed. He spent 2 minutes flowing through cat-cow. After a month, he noticed his back pain was easing, his posture was taller, and to his surprise, his erections were more responsive. The link became clear. When his spine was stiff, nerve signals to his pelvic region were dulled. When his spine became flexible, those signals came alive again. Here's the science. Erections are not just about blood flow, they're also about nerve health. Your spinal cord sends critical messages from your brain to your pelvic floor and penis. If your lower back is stiff, compressed, or inflamed, those signals can weaken. Add in the fact that sitting for decades compresses spinal discs and tightens back muscles. And it's no wonder so many men over 50 struggle with sensitivity and control. The cat-cow stretch improves spinal mobility, decompresses nerves, and increases circulation to the lower back. It also reduces stress by encouraging rhythmic breathing, which lowers cortisol, a hormone that works directly against sexual performance. Here's your mini action. Get on your hands and knees with your shoulders over your wrists and hips over your knees. As you inhale, drop your belly, lift your chest, and tilt your pelvis upward. This is the cow position. As you exhale, round your back, tuck your chin, and draw your belly in. This is the cat position. Flow slowly between cat and cow for 1-2 minutes, moving with your breath. If your wrists feel sore, place your forearms on the ground instead. And if your knees are sensitive, use a folded blanket under them for support. The key is smooth, steady motion, no jerking. No rushing. When Paul came back 3 months later, he wasn't just walking taller, he was smiling wider. I didn't think something so simple could make such a difference, he told me. But that's exactly the point. Erections depend on systems working together: blood vessels, muscles, and nerves. By keeping your spine flexible, you keep your nerve signals alive, and that can bring new life not only to your bedroom, but to your whole outlook on aging. So remember, the cat-cow isn't just for yoga classes. It's a daily reminder that your spine is the communication highway to your pelvis, and when traffic flows smoothly, everything works better. Stretch 4, the happy baby pose: deep pelvic release, stress relief, and blood flow. The fourth stretch might make you smile just by hearing its name, the happy baby pose. It may look playful, almost childlike, but don't let that fool you. For men over 50, this position is one of the most effective ways to deeply stretch the pelvis, relieve tension, and reawaken circulation where it matters most. Let me tell you about Richard, a 70-year-old retired engineer. He came to me after years of avoiding intimacy. "Doc," he said, "it's not that I don't want to, it's that I feel tight, stiff, and uncomfortable every time I try. Honestly, I've just given up." He carried himself with the heaviness of someone who believed his best years were behind him. When I introduced him to the happy baby pose, he laughed. "You want me to roll around on the floor like an infant?" But he agreed to try. And within weeks, something remarkable shifted. By lying on his back, drawing his knees toward his chest, and opening his hips wide, Richard was able to release years of built-up tension in his pelvic muscles. That release unlocked not only his physical body, but his mindset. He told me, "I feel lighter, freer, more relaxed. And for the first time in years, I actually wanted to be touched." Soon after, his erections became stronger and less painful, a direct result of improved blood flow and reduced pelvic tension. Here's the science. Erections depend on more than arteries. They require a relaxed nervous system and supple pelvic muscles. Tightness in the pelvic floor and hip joints creates a kind of clamp that restricts circulation. Add stress and anxiety, and the problem only worsens. The happy baby pose gently stretches the inner thighs, hips, and pelvic floor while signaling the nervous system to relax. As you breathe deeply in this position, cortisol, the stress hormone, drops, oxytocin rises, and blood flows more freely into the pelvic region. It's a perfect recipe for not just better erections, but better sleep and reduced tension overall. Here's your mini action. Lie flat on your back, bend your knees, and draw them toward your chest. Grab the outside of your feet with your hands, opening your knees wider than your torso. Gently pull your knees down toward the floor, keeping your lower back pressed into the mat. Hold the stretch for 30-60 seconds, breathing slowly and deeply. If reaching your feet feels difficult, grab your shins or use a resistance band around your arches. The goal isn't to force flexibility, it's to invite your hips and pelvis to release little by little. Richard's wife later told me, "He seems happier, more relaxed, more like himself again." That's the hidden benefit of this stretch. It's not just about the body, it's about the emotional freedom that comes when your body no longer feels locked up. So, don't underestimate the happy baby pose. What looks playful on the outside is actually powerful medicine for your pelvic health. It reminds your body to stay open, your circulation to stay active, and your mind to stay calm. And when all three work together, the results in the bedroom and in life can be transformative. Stretch 5. The kneeling lunge, releasing hip flexors, restoring pelvic circulation. The final stretch may be the most important one of all, because it targets muscles that quietly sabotage erections in almost every man over 50. It's the kneeling lunge, and it directly addresses the hip flexors, those deep muscles at the front of your hips that tighten after years of sitting. I remember David, a 59-year-old avid golfer. He came into my office complaining not only about weaker erections, but also about stiffness every time he walked the course. "Doc," he said, "my swing feels shorter. My back feels tight, and honestly in the bedroom I feel like there's just no circulation left." Like many men, David had no idea that his hip flexors were part of the problem. These muscles had shortened from decades of sitting in the office, driving, and even leaning on golf carts between swings. When the hip flexors tighten, they act like a clamp across the arteries and nerves that run through the pelvis. That restriction doesn't just make your stride shorter, it limits the very blood flow needed for strong erections. Once David began practicing the kneeling lunge daily, the changes were dramatic. Within 6 weeks, he reported that his hips felt looser, his swing more powerful, and his erections more reliable. His wife even commented that he seemed to move with a lighter step, more like the man she married. Here's the science. The iliopsoas muscle group, a major hip flexor, attaches deep in the pelvis and directly influences blood vessels that feed the genital region. When this muscle is chronically tight, it restricts circulation, compresses nerves, and alters posture in ways that affect erectile function. By releasing the hip flexors through the kneeling lunge, you create space for arteries to expand, improve nerve conductivity, and reduce the pressure on your pelvic floor. Think of it as opening the faucet. Suddenly, blood has a clear path to flow where it's needed most. Here's your mini action. Start in a kneeling position. Step your right foot forward so your knee is bent at 90 degrees. Keep your left knee on the ground, toes pointing back. Gently press your hips forward, keeping your torso upright. You should feel a stretch along the front of your left hip and thigh. Hold the stretch for 30-60 seconds, then switch sides. Repeat for a total of 2-3 rounds per side. To deepen the stretch, raise your arms overhead or twist slightly toward your front knee. But remember, no forcing. The goal is to open, not strain. David described the sensation perfectly. It feels like the blood can finally move again. And that's exactly what this stretch does. It restores space, circulation, and confidence. So here's the bottom line. By practicing the kneeling lunge, you're not just stretching a muscle, you're unlocking one of the main gateways to pelvic health, along with the other 4 stretches. This movement forms a complete routine that supports stronger erections, better posture, and improved overall vitality. 5 stretches, 10 minutes a day, no pills, no gimmicks, just your body remembering how it's meant to function. And when you commit to them, you're telling yourself and your body, I'm still here, I still matter, and I still want to live fully. Here's how to put it all together. I call it the Daily 10 Protocol, a simple routine that takes only 10 minutes a day, yet has the power to change how you feel in your body and in your bedroom. Bridge pose 1 minute, butterfly 2 minutes, cat-cow 2 minutes, happy baby 2 minutes, kneeling lunge 3 minutes. That's it, no pills, no equipment. Just 10 minutes to remind your body every single day that blood flow matters, flexibility matters, and confidence matters. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, Doc, can 10 minutes really make a difference? And my answer is absolutely yes. Because these stretches don't just work your muscles, they unlock circulation, stimulate your nerves, and keep your pelvic floor strong. 10 minutes may seem small, but consistency turns small habits into big results. Think about it this way, your car doesn't need a brand new engine every year. It just needs regular oil, tune-ups, and a little care to keep running smoothly. Your body is no different. Ignore it and breakdowns happen. Care for it daily. And it can keep running strong for decades. The men who stick with the Daily 10 often report more than just stronger erections. They tell me their backs feel looser, their posture improves, their energy climbs, and even their sleep deepens. Why? Because when you improve blood flow and reduce stress in the pelvis, your whole system benefits. Circulation is the foundation of vitality, not just for sex, but for your heart, your brain, and your mood. I've seen men in their 70s regain confidence they thought was lost. I've seen marriages rekindled, not because of medication, but because a man decided to invest 10 minutes in himself each day. And I've seen single men rediscover a sense of control and self-respect that spilled into every part of their lives. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Don't wait for the perfect time or for things to get worse. Roll out a mat, lie down on the floor, and begin with the bridge pose. 10 minutes later, you'll have completed the entire protocol. That's all it takes to begin reminding your body that you still care, that you're still in the game, and that you still want to live fully. And I want you to hold on to this. Age does not mean the end of vitality. Yes, your body changes after 50, but change is not decline. Change is an invitation to adapt, to strengthen, to discover what's still possible. The Daily 10 is one way to answer that invitation. If this message resonated with you, I want you to take 2 small actions right now. 1, leave a comment below saying, "I'm starting the Daily 10 today." Not only does that keep you accountable, but it might inspire another man who feels alone in his struggle. 2, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week I share science-backed strategies to help men over 50 reclaim their health, their confidence, and their future. You don't need to surrender to pills or to silence. You need a plan, a practice, and a little bit of consistency. And today you have 10 minutes, 5 stretches. A stronger, more confident you.